Hi, I'm Trevor with Woodland Scenics. Today we're going to show you some simple tips and techniques for creating realistic rocks. Whether they're rocks for your riverbed or rocks for your cliffside, these tried and true techniques will make your layout come to life. I'm here with Matt today, and he's going to show us how to do some of these tips and techniques. So Matt, whenever you're ready, just take it away and show us how it's done.
All right, thanks Trevor. What we're going to be doing today is working with some of the Woodland Scenics molds, okay? We're going to be actually making our own rocks for our layout, okay? This is a very easy technique. We're using some very durable molds that have a lot of detail in them, so when we fill these up with our lightweight hydrocal and let them cure, we're going to be popping out some molds that are ready for your layout and ready for paint, okay?
Excellent.
Not a lot of work to it, it's just using a little bit of imagination and a little bit of time. Again, I talked about filling these all the way up. That's what you can do to get an entire casting out of it. Right. If that casting's too much for you, or if you're just more interested in the rock face itself, feel free to fill these up to your desired depth. It doesn't need to be all the way filled up. For example, I filled this one up about halfway. I really like the look of this particular casting, but that's a little bit big for my layout. Right. By filling it halfway, now I still get that same great detailed rock face, but a lot smaller rock.
It's almost like a completely different rock.
Yeah, absolutely. So one mold, you obviously can get a lot of different style rocks that are just owned in one mold. Excellent. But the more molds you own, obviously the quicker your layout's going to take shape, okay? Another great tip is actually build a little base for yourself. Get that thing up on an angle. This particular mold here, I really love the detail in that corner there, so I'm more interested in just casting this corner and not this entire mold, as you can see here, okay? I do that again by just following the instructions on the Woodland Scenics lightweight hydrocal. Just go ahead and fill that up. This stuff dries really fast. You're talking about 40 minutes and you're gonna have a rock that's ready for your layout. Very little cutting, very little shaving to get that to fit on there, okay? Right,
you just did a little bitty part right there. It's amazing how you have so much more mold, but you just want that little bitty piece right there. So.
Right, there's no reason to fill that all the way up if you're more interested in just a part of the mold, okay? And as you can see, the final from that, again, you know, the exact same mold, two different completely styled rocks. Right, okay?
Like you said before, we've got all these different molds with about 4 or 5 different castings in each mold, but then you can fill them up in different variations and you've got endless amount of rocks.
Right, that's correct. And it's amazing how light they are too. You know, they're very lightweight, very durable once you get them on your layout, and they're ready for paint. So it's a very quick process and it's a really neat system, all right? Now, if you have a rock or there's a particular item that you want on your layout itself, feel free to make your own mold, okay? We can do that with the Woodland Scenics latex rubber. You actually put about 4 or 5 coats of latex on your object itself, let them cure in between coats, and then once you pop that out, you have your own custom mold. And it's the same thing, fill that up with your lightweight hydrocal and make your own casting like I've done here, okay?
And it's a lot lighter than the actual rock.
Oh, the actual, yeah, the actual casting itself is way lighter. And again, it's ready for paint, so you can customize it instead of putting this on your layout and you got to deal with weight and then having the color not match the rest of your layout. And that's what I've done here. I've simply used a little bit of our pigment, and that's going to match my layout perfectly, okay? Excellent. All right. Now again, attaching these rocks is simple, okay? It's very intimidating for a person that's really not used to building models. They look at these and say, oh, I could never do it. It's very easy to do for anybody, okay? Got this first one on there using a shingling technique. Now, a shingling technique is actually using the mold, filling it up with your lightweight hydrocal, and instead of letting it cure, go ahead and once it's about halfway cured, put that up against your layout and then let it cure 100% before removing the mold.
Okay, so it's almost like tacky, kind of still a little wet, but it's also firm.
Exactly. Okay. That's going to help contour to your layout, okay? And then you do that by one at a time. That's why they call it shingling. You're actually overlapping just a tad bit so you can start filling up your layout in that fashion, but it's a lot better to use that on a lot bigger layout.
Okay, on a bigger layout, if you had a couple different molds, you can actually sit there and go at it with those castings.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more time. It's going to use a few more molds, but it's a great technique and the same great results at the end of the day, okay? Now on this one here, I'm going to be using what we call the brick technique, where I'm actually going to be staggering these up, okay? Now I'm more concentrating right now on this pocket here. I want to go ahead and fill that up. This is a great mold for that, and you're asking how am I going to get that in there? Well, again, these are very customizable. You can break them off. Exactly. And because they're so lightweight, when you break those off, it already gives a natural edge to it. Very little I have to do but to get that to fit in there, okay? So basically that's where I want that to go. Okay.
I see some gaps in there, right?
See a few gaps in there, which is no big deal. I'm going to be using a hobby knife just to trim away or basically cut a relief cut.
And that's not going to ruin the layout any, or you're not going to be able to see that cut later?
Not going to be able to see that cut at all because I'm just basically making a relief cut that I can actually push in to help me let this sit flush.
Right, the great thing about this is it looks so easy. I mean, you're making it seem like you just cast these rocks. You've already got this going, but you just make a relief cut and stick it right in there.
Exactly. See, I'm just going to push that in a little bit.
Okay.
All right. And that's really going to help me. See how that just kind of lays in there nice and flush?
Right.
Okay,
right.
like that. I'm actually going to be using some plaster cloth, and these are just strips of plaster cloth that I cut off a roll.
Okay.
I'm actually going to use this not only for an adhesive, which I'll stick right on the back of my casting.
Okay. Now, could you use anything else for the back of that casting?
You can use glue. You can use some of your lightweight hydrocal.
Okay.
You know, whatever it is. Sometimes it's easier to wet both sides down too.
Okay.
And actually use this as an adhesive. Nothing fancy.
All right,
stick
just
it right on the
there.
back. Okay.
Right.
And as that cures into place, then I'll actually bond right to your layout, and you don't have to worry about that falling off. Okay. And same thing. Just use the rest of your pieces here. And nothing fancy. You just want to fill in all your gaps.
Right.
Use maybe a tongue depressor to help you fill those all in.
Fill them right in there.
Okay. And you want to continue all the way around so you have a nice flush looking edge. You don't have to be too fancy here, because all that's going to be covered up with your landscaping after the rock stage is finished. Okay. I don't have any more in there, so let's use a little bit of this.
Just go back to the hydrocal again. There you go. And it goes right onto that. So just take some of that and put it right on there.
Just like paste.
Right.
Okay. And again, that fits right on there nice and neat. And I'll use that same technique with the plaster cloth, go around all your edges until it's all flush with your layout.
That's awesome.
Okay, now this one here, I've actually done that. Same molds, same rocks, and I've actually finished off all the edges. I started thinking about what my water is going to look like here, so I took an extra casting, broke that up into
just like
pieces.
one of these?
Right. Just
okay.
Chip that off.
Just kind of chip them off.
You can chip off, use a hobby knife, whatever it is, and just make basically smaller rocks as your bigger rocks. So
now, is there actually a mold for that also?
If you want to buy the mold, we actually have a mold. It's going to help you with that process.
Okay.
It'll just give you a lot of little ones instead of a bunch of big ones, or you can make your own. Whatever
like we said here, we got some left over, and that's perfect.
Right, exactly. Now let's talk about painting these rocks up. Again, this is another very intimidating part of the modeling process.
I know it is for me.
Right, but it doesn't need to be. We've came up with a technique that's going to help you out quite a bit.
Excellent.
We're going to use what we call a leopard spotting technique. All right, we're using the woodland scenic pigments. I'm going to be using the yellow ochre, burnt umber, and a little bit of black.
Okay.
And with that combination, we're going to come up with a very realistic look, okay? And we call it leopard spotting because it's just that. I'm basically going to be spotting these rocks up. Don't forget your little ones.
Right. And if you don't like that yellow so predominant, can you actually lighten that up?
You can actually lighten that up to any color you want, or add more to it, whatever matches your particular landscape. You know,
just add a little water to it and it'll lighten it right up.
I kind of looked at the rocks we have outside here, and this is the color I chose, so I'm going to kind of stick with this. But again, you can see from the samples in front of me, you can mix that up to any different amount of different color.
Okay, see, like the yellow, you got some limestone in there, and the red, you got more of like an iron look to it.
Okay, once we get into our black wash, this is just a black pigment with wash or water, and just simply go over the entire rock layout with that black.
Okay.
And just kind of let that run down and let it take its course. Okay,
right, you can actually definitely tell that black's making it look weathered right there.
Now, I usually start with a real light wash, and then as I go on, I'll add more black to it, because that'll actually fill in the cracks, and as that runs down and finds its natural way down, it'll fill that up and just really highlight the rock itself, okay? It is really, truly a foolproof system, and I tell you, the system works great every time. So when your layout is done, as you can see here, it just really takes shape. It's got a realistic look to it. I went ahead and finished all my landscaping, used some Woodland Scenics products on it. We used some realistic water, some water effects, some deadfall, and again, this piece is ready for my layout. All right. Well, thanks, Matt. Okay, you guys have seen some of those tips and techniques. We hope you guys utilize that at home, and we'll see you next time.